Welcome to Money Shots, Key West edition. Kelly in Vegas here. I got my balls beachwear. As always, every single time I'm on vacation, you got to bring the balls. Special guest, Rico Bosco, filling in for Megan, making money. Rico, thank you so much. We've got a ton. I'm going to have planes flying above me all day. I knew it was going to happen the second we started the show. Apparently, there's a naval base right next to our Airbnb. So I know we usually make fun of Megan for these blunders, but we can make fun of me today. Lots of top 25 games, but before we get into it, how was Iowa City? What's the bench mob got going on?
Iowa City was unbelievable. It's actually hilarious. We inducted Luka Garza into the Bench Mob Hall of Fame and gave him a plaque. And I said to him, I was like, he's probably like, what the fuck am I gonna do with this? But it was good. Yeah, I mean, game was a blowout. Iowa, you watched them last night. Ton of different scoring options. They're a sleeper type team. It's crazy. The Big Ten, I mean, they're like right above it in the Big Ten, but they're ranked because it's so hard every night. So it's a wide open tournament. Iowa City was a blast. I was working the refs, which got a lot of attraction on Twitter, which was good. But yeah, it's some conference tournaments are set now. This is really when it's a lot of fun.
Where are you guys headed next?
Today we're going to Rutgers.
Okay, I like that. I will probably be on Rutgers. Rutgers has been a money-making machine for me. We'll get into that game, plus some other top 25 games. But in all seriousness, how come I'm never invited to these bench mob?
You can, because I'll tell you this, top of the list is Kansas. And
Ooh.
I got a flight out early, so I wasn't with them. But Jake and Marty are in the airport in Chicago. They had like a travel day from hell.
I did see that.
They had to drive to Chicago. They got back at like 1 a.m. It was horrible. But they're in the airport, and they're like, the kid comes up to him. He's like, "Hey, Marty, what's up, man? My dad was at the fish fry for Huggins." He's like, "Oh, awesome. Like, who's your dad?" He's like, "Oh, Bill Self." So now Marty's working. I want to go see that big bird big time at Kansas.
I'll be honest with you. Allen Fieldhouse is a dump. You're really not missing much. I'm a little biased maybe. No, all jokes aside, it's a great place to go to see the history of basketball. I highly recommend it if you've never been. I'll put my biases aside, but let's get into some of these top 25 matchups. The first one that I want to talk about is that Kansas and Baylor matchup. This one is going to be basically for the Big 12, right? We've got Baylor, who won the national championship last year. We've got a really solid Kansas Jayhawks team. Even though it pains me to say it, they're good almost every single year. This is a really great matchup. I don't think I'm going to be betting it. This is not something I'm probably going to get to the window on because I do think the lines are super tight here. But I want to know your thoughts on the Jayhawks headed into Waco. I have some good friends at the game. I have a feeling Waco is going to be absolute bananas.
100%, especially coming off of Kansas beat the shit out of them the last time. I know Baylor's down. A couple of guys are not necessarily at full strength. I'm hearing mutters that this is a kitchen. Like, you get in these groups with these Kansas fans who give you like tips, and then you become, now we're like Iowa stands, so I know everything about Iowa. But either way, they're saying, the kid goes, this is a kitchen sink game for Bill Self. He said it in the press conference. I don't really know exactly what that could mean because flat out, Kansas is my pick to win the title right now. I actually think I picked them preseason, which I don't love going wire to wire, but I actually think they're being slept on. Without Remy Martin, they're playing a lot better. The kid Brown is unbelievable. McCormack's a presence inside. It's tough coming off of obviously like a huge win against Baylor, but the plus 3.5 here with the better team, I got to go with Kansas. I really do. I just think a guy like Jalen Wilson is kind of finding his niche where he doesn't, like last year they were relying on him a lot and they kind of struggled. This year I think he's finding his niche. He can score when he wants to. He's not the main option. They got a ton of experience. Guys like Lightfoot do stuff that need to be done. I know it's tough going against Baylor at home. I think Kansas keeps it within the number, obviously, but it's so tight. I think you got to pick. I think Kansas is the pick to win as well.
I just opened up the Barstool Sportsbook. Sorry, guys, I'm not used to hosting, so I did not have the new line readily available. KU is a 2.5-point underdog now, which is telling me kind of what Rico's saying. We've known that Flagler and Cryer have both been questionable and or not 100%. They're always game time decisions. Maybe that's indicative of either people like KU or one of those guys is going to be out for this one. Keep an eye on those injury reports. last note on this one. I do think that Waco deserves a little bit better of a home court advantage. I know that Ken Palm doesn't even have him in his top 50. As somebody who has been to a basketball game in Waco, this team, this energy, Alvin Brooks, assistant head coach from Kansas State, I still follow him on Twitter. The energy, what Scott Drew has been able to do there has been incredible. Again, I'm not going to get to the window, and that's just because I think this is going to be a knockout, drag out, awesome game. So we'll move on to the next one. I'm going to take.
I know we move quick, Kelly. I'm sorry, but Scott Drew obviously has a banner. But you talk about him historically. He took over for a program that was where players were murdering each other. This guy should go down as one of the all-time rebuilds ever.
I would 110% agree with you. You're absolutely right. He deserves a ton of credit, and we'll see if Baylor can't make a run here in March. Number 3, Auburn at number 17, Tennessee. Auburn, 3-point underdog. This one's going to be really interesting. I don't think I'm going to end up getting involved, but we have to talk about these top 25 matchups. So I feel like kind of a broken record here saying, I'm not going to get involved. I think the line is dead on. I make Tennessee a 3-point favorite, so I'm not going to touch this. But we all know what Auburn's done this season. We know they have a top 10 defense. They have a top 20 offense. The Vols, though, they've kind of faltered here and there. Most notably last Saturday against Arkansas. Got a nice bounce back against Missouri on Tuesday. Your thoughts on this SEC matchup, Rico?
Well, first off, one of Tennessee's players told us he would only come on the podcast for a $300 fee. So we have been against Tennessee all year.
Listen to these kids trying to get their nil.
I don't know. It is what it is. Tennessee also has a top 10 defense. Very, very stingy. They're 4th in the country. They've only lost 2 games, or it's been 2 games where they allowed 80 points by opponents. So obviously Auburn wants to get to the 80. They got the best player on the floor, Jabari Smith. I think the line tells you a lot here. Like the whole world should be on Auburn. How can you turn away Auburn +3? I'm probably taking the sucker bet. I'm leaning towards Auburn. The key to me is if Auburn can get to the line. Tennessee is not great at allowing teams to get to, they allow teams to get to the line a lot. I also think Auburn's way deeper, which plays into that. Kessler can get some stops. Jabari Smith is obviously a top 10 player. He's probably the best player on the floor. It's going to be a tough environment. It seems like one of those circle the wagon games for Tennessee like they did with Kentucky. With that said, I just like Auburn. I think Tennessee hits those spurts of 3-4 minutes without a field goal. They look like they can't do anything. Auburn gets out on these runs. I think you got to go Auburn +3. And with that said, same thing. I think Auburn wins the game.
Listen, all season long with these interesting dynamics, and it was just like this on, I think it was Wednesday night with Ohio State. It might have been Thursday. My days are running together now. Look, you want to give me points with the better team? It seems like a trap, but it has been working, so I'm with you. Slight lean towards Auburn there. Let's keep it in the SEC. Number 6, Kentucky at number 18, Arkansas. Arkansas is a 2.5-point favorite, and we're going to have a money shots parlay today. This is going to be my contribution. I know Megan likes Arkansas. I like Arkansas as well. I think what Eric Musselman has been able to do has been nothing short of incredible. We were just talking about Baylor, and while Arkansas hasn't been a bad basketball program, they have really turned a corner here. That defense is absolutely solid. I think the whole world is going to want to be on Kentucky catching points here, and I don't blame them. It looks really trappy, but I made Arkansas a 3-point favorite, so we're putting Arkansas money line in the money shots parlay. Rico, your thoughts?
I know you're not like a cliche or like a motivation or dead mascot type of girl, which I do respect.
Dead mascot's the best one. Come
on. The Storm Chasers will be in the building. Got to plug the Storm Chasers.
Ooh.
Which is a little weird that it's both top 25, but storm in the court's fun. Storm the court.
Yeah, absolutely. I love when people storm the court. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Rush the field, storm the court, enjoy your best life in college.
So the thing to me here is that I would have liked getting Kentucky off of the lights out performance against Alabama. They shot the fucking lights out. They couldn't miss. They come back from down 15. They go off, right? They already had a game. They had LSU. They shot 16% from 3. That was their down tick. So this one's maybe a median type. You know, it's a little bit of a mix of both. I obviously would have loved to get the letdown. With that said, Musselman's 12-3 in 2022. They were dead in the water early in the year.
They lost 5 in a row or 5 of 6 or something.
Yeah, just couldn't get it going. And as it turns out, it's lineup issues. Like they figured out what they're going to go with. We're going to cut down the rotation. Jalen Williams has turned himself into a star. JD Note is obviously one of the best players in the league. And this is kind of the recipe for success here with Musselman of like, don't panic. Like the car has problems early. Don't worry. We'll adjust it. We'll figure it out. And he's on his way to Elite Eight last year. And again, I mean, 100 to 1, 75 to 1, whatever they're at, you got to take a look at it. Bud Walton's going to be crazy. I still worry about Calipari. He's done a good job this year, but down
it's hard to bet against Calipari.
Yeah, well, I didn't think he was a great X's and O's coach, but he's making some adjustments. He's got the guys going. Down 2 starters. I think Arkansas figures out a way with this crowd to win. I would lay the 2.5.
All right. Now, I know technically Rutgers is not in the top 25, but this is a top 25 matchup in my mind. Number 13, Wisconsin at Rutgers. Rutgers, 2.5-point favorites. My God. Speaking of trap lines, this is the trap line of the day. I like Rutgers on the money line. Rico has his contribution, which he'll get to the end of the show. And I pulled one from Megan's list as well. But this looks like everybody is going to want to take this Wisconsin team. You've got Rutgers off really an ugly performance on Wednesday. I was on them. I said, how can I not continue to keep betting them? I was on them on Sunday. I think the last time I hadn't bet this Rutgers team was like at the beginning of February. This team has been printing their backers money, particularly as underdogs at home. They have been Big Ten killers. Now, on the flip side, no disrespect to Wisconsin, 22-5 on the season, and they should have revenge here, which I think is a really interesting dichotomy. February 12th, they lost at home to this Rutgers team. Rutgers just mopped the floor with them in Madison. Do you ever put in a revenge factor of sorts into your handicapping process? Like, well, they got smoked at home, so I think that they're going to be motivated here. I find it really hard for myself to quantify that, but you can't ignore that situation.
No, you definitely can't ignore it, but I will tell you this. The reason they lost is because Caleb McConnell held Johnny Davis to 11 points. And now you go to the rack where we will be courtside and also 2-0 in live bench mob games after the show. So there's a lot there. The rack or Jersey Mike's is a fucking unbelievable environment. The thing to look at here is that Wisconsin is 20-0 when they hold a free throw attempt advantage in the game. So if they get to the line, obviously and with their tempo and shit like that, they're going to obviously screw it up. I think Rutgers is ready to go. I love Harper. I love Geo Baker. It's a brutal environment. We've been against Big Cat's been fucking killing us. And if they lose tonight, if Rutgers lose tonight, we're going to hear no end of shit. But I'll give you this. I don't know if you've been following or maybe I text you. Johnny Davis accounts for 28% of Wisconsin's points. There's been 3 players who've been over 27% in the last final 3 players over 27% for Final 4 teams in the last 20 years. Kemba, Carmelo, and Buddy Hield. So,
Buddy,
you could say when you get there, obviously a guy like Carmelo and Kemba can carry you to a title, but the odds are you probably can't get there with a one-trick pony, and like guys like Brad Davison have been shooting lights out. Wall has been playing better. I think Wisconsin's just kind of getting a lot of luck in their favor. Everyone's talking about the Providence luck. Wisconsin, listen, they're a good team. They run this stuff. They're old. I don't buy them long-term. Like, can they get to the Sweet 16? Yeah. Do I see them probably getting upset in the first weekend? Yes. With that said, we can't bet on it because we're in Jersey, but it's Rutgers tonight. I think the quote is your family, your religion, and Rutgers basketball.
There you go. Hopefully New Jersey gets on that because it's so ridiculous that you cannot bet. It's the same thing in Illinois. I never got it. I understand Nevada used to be the same way in regards to UNR and UNLV games. Anyway, we'll keep it on the West Coast here. This is wild that this is a top 25 matchup. Number 1, Gonzaga at number 23, St. Mary's. St. Mary's 10.5-point home underdogs. Rico, bottom line, and I hate to use these kind of like euphemisms, if you will. I cannot bet against Gonzaga. Every time I try to bet against Gonzaga, just the other day, Thursday, my buddies are like, oh, San Francisco's the play. I'm like, I can't do it. Maybe in the first half, because we do know that Gonzaga can kind of run that tempo that is really quick and teams can keep up with them for that first half. And then they just get blown out in the second. That's exactly what happened to the San Francisco team. They were able to get the first half cover and then they just get the doors blown off of them. I don't know what to make of this Gonzaga team. Are they the number 1 team in the country? I don't know. Yes, they played Duke, but they lost. Yes, they played Alabama, but they lost. And outside of that, this is a tough one. As I mentioned, catching 10.5 with a top 25 team in St. Mary's is like my type of bet. That home dog. Can they win this game? I don't think so. That tells me maybe a St. Mary's first half pick is in my future. But outside of that, can you bet against Gonzaga right now?
No, and you talk about like what we know. First off, this used to be an awesome game when St. Mary's and Gonzaga were both like 17 and 22 and like ranked in the country, and it was a back and forth war. St. Mary's is gonna come to play tonight with that environment. With that said, I mean Gonzaga, they got two fucking like they had Drew Timme, who's probably one of the players of the year candidates, and then they go get a unicorn in Chet Holmgren. Like they're unbelievable. But the thing I keep saying, I do think it's good that Gonzaga's lost 2 games. They can handle lose. Like I think last year, a lot of that pressure, whether they say it or not, got to a point that carried with them. You know, like they were, it seemed like could have been mentally exhausted. Kispert, if you look last year, had the yips late towards the tournament. He really was the difference. He makes some shots. They probably do a little bit better against UCLA, and then obviously make a run maybe in the championship game. Gonzaga's they have 5 games you can really judge them on. I know everyone's talking about the WCC. They're 3-2 in those games. Lost to Duke, lost to Alabama, beat an overrated Texas team, beat Texas Tech, and beat UCLA, who I think is overrated. So Gonzaga, to me, and all of those games, 5 games before Christmas. So I don't really know what we really know about this team. I do know that, yeah, they're probably the favorite to win it. And like you said, do I think St. Mary's can win this? No, so I can't even take them with the 10.5. I really can't. Gonzaga's just been freaky good, if that makes sense. Like just freaky good. I think you got to lay the 11. It's the chalkiest pick on the board, but lay the 11 or 11.5, whatever it's up to. You got to go with Gonzaga.
All right. And because I've got you today, and we all know that I'm the resident Big 12 girl at Barstool, I want to talk some Big 12 basketball. We're going to start off first, though, with the less attractive game here. Oklahoma State, 3.5-point underdogs at Oklahoma. You and I are both looking at this Cowboys team. Frankly, no disrespect to Oklahoma, they have not been the same since Lon Kruger left. They just haven't. This team has lost like 12 of their last 14. They got that one elusive win over Texas Tech back in early February, and the wheels have just fallen off. I don't know what to make of this team. The fact that they're a 3.5-point favorite over Oklahoma State has me looking at this going, what am I missing here? Oklahoma doesn't have some great home court advantage. Now, can they get wild in Norman? Sure. But I would put them as maybe top 5, 6 in the Big 12 alone. So I'm not thinking this is going to be some competitive game for them based on their home court. Solid defense, solid offense on paper. But this Oklahoma State defense is really, really good. Megan always makes fun of me because one of the sayings I always say on the show is take the better defense plus the points here. And that's the way I'm looking at this Oklahoma State school. Are we on the same side?
Yes, you talk about this defense. This is one of my I say plus the 3.5, and I'll also take them 143 on the money line. So Oklahoma State is 16th in the country in defense. They hold opponents to 44% from 2, which is 13th in the country. They force turnovers. Their block percentage is 9th in the country, and their steal percentage is 22nd in the country. They attack the glass like animals. I love Mike Boynton. I love what he's building. I think somebody, I don't know what his ties are, but a guy like somebody like Maryland should be looking off the grid for him. I know the Big 12 is a premier conference. It might not make sense. They're obviously screwed with the ban this year. I love Boynton. The only thing that worries me is that Oklahoma State is 0 in true road games.
Yeah, but think about this. Oklahoma's going to the SEC next year. So my question is okay, is this the last chance you're going to get to beat up on your big brother in-state rival before they leave the conference? To me, I think Oklahoma State does capitalize with this defense. And something you pointed out I liked a lot is you mentioned how Oklahoma State leads in steals. Well, guess who turns the ball over almost more than any other team in the country? That's right, Oklahoma. I'm with you. I do like the Cowboys. I will be taking the points here. I'm going to keep it in the Big 12.
Quick fix. It is a little early, Kelly. I got to fix it. They beat Baylor on the road in a true road game. I'm sorry. In the scroll, they beat Baylor, so I'll take it. All right, even better for my case. It actually helps my point. I scrolled too fast looking at the away, the home. Fuck it. That actually helps me. They can go to a place like Baylor and win.
I know I plugged them a ton on here, but I paid for the Ken Palm Plus for the year. I gave Megan the login. I will send it to you as well. It is the greatest because you just click home, you click away, and it highlights and it gives you, it's the best. I'm going to send you the login. Worth every fucking penny, you guys, because college basketball has so much ridiculousness, like 300 plus teams. How am I going to keep track?
Right.
So we're going to go stay in the Big 12, a team that has been printing money for me since early January, basically. The TCU Horned Frogs, they are playing at home to Texas Tech. I'm loving TCU in this spot. Why? Because this is a Texas Tech team that everybody finally caught up on. I was rolling with Texas Tech for over a month. I'm like, Texas Tech. No. Oh, why are you in love with Texas Tech? Because this team is absolutely and utterly solid. They are the best defense in the country. They have the best home court advantage in the country. But guess what? They're not at home today. They are in good old Fort Worth, Texas. And I think from what we're going to see here from this Texas Tech school, now, granted, they don't play anybody after TCU. They play my Kansas State Wildcats and Oklahoma State. So I'm not going to say that they have something else to look forward to. But they do have a little bit of revenge here against the Horned Frogs. If you remember, Horned Frogs, 12.5-point underdogs back in February, like early February, went into Lubbock and won in a convincing fashion. So I think Texas Tech is going to have some revenge here. The line is spot on, but I am going to take that money-making team, TCU. I'm going to ride them, Rutgers, and a couple more just through the end of the season because I'm up money. And these teams, I do not think the bookmakers have caught up with yet. They're kind of these like little under the radar. I do think Rutgers is a little bit of an exception, but teams like TCU, no one's paying attention to that unless you're following Big 12 basketball. Your thoughts on the best defense in the country in Texas Tech, and can you bet against them here?
Yeah, I like where you're going, and you watched the game the other night, Texas Tech, for all their defensive lockdown and like how great they are. And their improvement in offense early in the year, I call them speed limit games. They were playing 55-44. They were playing 65-60, like speed limit. They were ugly. There was a game against Tennessee that everyone in the Garden should be refunded. That it was a doubleheader. It was gross. It was gross. With that said, like a team like Texas Tech the other night goes, I think 9 minutes in the first half without a field goal. Got to the line, like hit some points. They didn't go scoreless, but they can go on these spurts where the offense is kind of lost. Now, in a tournament format, in the Big 12 format, and obviously the NCAA, where these guys are coaching in 4-minute spots, that's going to help a team like this because they'll just crawl into your shorts, play defense. But how many are you getting with TCU? 12?
5.
Okay.
The line in Lubbock was 12.5, and they won outright. I took the 12.5, put $0 on the money line. I didn't think that team was going to win in Lubbock. And not, like I said, not only did they win, they won convincingly. I think they were able to play that lockdown style of basketball that TCU is known for. And I think we're going to see it again here today. I know it's all these ugly dogs. That's what you guys get with me. It's just going to be that way. And Megan already tweeted out her picks. Make sure you guys go over to her Twitter as well. See what she's up to. Rico, before we get to your best bet, I've got a couple more.
A handful for TCU should tell you something. I like that. I like the way that's going. It would actually scare me if it was 12. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the difference here is it's when these lines make you have to think about it a little too long. Think long, think wrong. That is going to get on our next t-shirt. The Big East, full disclosure, never been a huge Big East girl. I always try to follow the 4 or 5 conferences I knew. Mountain West Conference, Big 12. I really am starting to love SEC basketball, spending a lot of time in Florida. So it's kind of been my replacement here. And obviously I love Big 10 basketball just because it's slow and boring and we can make fun of them. But full disclosure, I have not watched that much Big East. I have had several bets on Butler, Marquette this year, but this Providence team, I feel like came out of nowhere. How did I miss them? I don't know how.
No, everybody did.
Just absolutely jarring. They're playing Creighton today. They are a 5-point favorite at home. They're number 11 in the country. I am just shocked at this line. Now, coming out of that triple overtime versus Xavier is something to think about here. And who do they play on Tuesday? That's right.
I knew you were going to. I know this girl. I know this girl better than anybody. There's no way she was going to miss the Villanova sandwich spot.
You have to. Like situation. Now, you cannot quantify that. If you go on Ken Palm right now, the line should be 5. But situationally, you have to wonder how much do they have left in the tank from that Wednesday night game. That was such an incredible game to watch. I had no skin in it, and I actually watched all 3 overtimes just because it was exciting. And I think that that's something that we all love about basketball. This is not March yet, but we're getting really close. That's that March Madness type feel, those crazy overtime wins. And it took them 3 overtimes, but they not only got the win, they got the cover. So your thoughts, are you on Creighton taking the 5?
No. So the tiebreaker scenario is that if Providence wins today, they lock up the 1 in the Big East. So what I see is I know it's the perfect type of sandwich game, but I don't really, if it makes sense, I don't think they're looking at Villanova, because if they win this one, they could kind of punt Villanova. I know you wouldn't, but if things go wrong, they'd be like, Cooley's going to be like, hey, you know what? We're good. We got the 1. We test, like, whatever. We know where we match up with Villanova as it is. We're probably going to see them in the Big East final. Punt it. Don't show them anything. Today's kind of a circle the wagons type game. I worry a lot about their legs, but the dunk is an electric environment. I think this is where Providence gets going. Cooley's the type of guy who seems like a football guy in the sense of his locker room speeches. I think he's going to get everything, all the cliches. Nobody believed in us. We could win the Big East outright. Nobody respects our seed. Ken Palm, the luck. I think Providence is probably the play here. I know that, and at a certain point, you could be like, oh, well, they win. All they do is win close games. Okay, that means they're tough. These are some tough dudes. They're just, like he says, be them dudes. They're tough dudes. I think Providence you got to go with here of how the magnitude of winning the Big East.
I love it. One of the last games we're going to talk about is also in the money shots parlay today. And this is going to be my contribution. As I mentioned, Megan has Arkansas money line. I'm going to take South Carolina plus the 11.5. Jack better already locked it in because it is now 11 at the Barstool Sportsbook. So if it is wrong and he moves it to 10.5, you guys be mad at Jack. This is an Alabama team that I have watched. I have no idea, full disclosure, why I've watched so much freaking Alabama basketball, but
Probably
I have.
Because of me.
And honestly, they are the most infuriating team when you're laying points with them. You're catching points. That Kentucky game, my buddy said, oh, I love Alabama here. I said, I love him in the first half. Jack just said he moved it to 10.5. What a jerk, you guys. South Carolina hopefully can keep it close for me. This is a Frank Martin team. Everybody knows that's my K-State bias talking, but I really do love Frank. And what I love about Frank's teams are those defenses. He also has a really fast-paced offense that he likes to run. Now, while this team offensively has not been great, I'm not going to sit here and say and, preach about anything offensively for them. I'm going to stick with the defense. We know they can guard the 3 ball. That is going to be their key to covering this game because Alabama does not get hot from 3. If you're laying points with Alabama, they are the most infuriating 3-point shooting team and free throw shooting team. They make me want to pull my freaking hair out. That being said, I'm on South Carolina. I already locked it in 11.5 this morning at the Barstool Sportsbook. We are going to see if they can keep it close. But am I crazy here for going against the Tide?
Weirdly, I still think Alabama is the team who could win a national title. As insane as that is, maybe because I get a lot of shit because I'm obviously friends with the coaches, and they have great guards that helps you in the tournament. You talked about infuriating being 3-point percentage. Yeah, they're shooting like less than 30%, and they take 47% from 3, their 3-point rate. So you get if they're going to shoot a ton and shoot low, it's a recipe for disaster. The other thing that's infuriating is their turnover percentage. 216th in turnovers. South Carolina, I'm surprised you missed this one. South Carolina forces their 37th in the country in turnovers. So if this one gets ugly, especially with Davidson, he's an electric guard. He goes by everybody, but a lot of times he's careless with the ball. Like Bama, they play a lot like an NBA team. A lot of passes, one-handed, up speed. They take chances. That's what happens. Frank Martin is probably the coach you don't want to be in a bar fight with.
No, you want him to be on your side in a bar fight.
Of course. You don't want to be in a fight with him. 11's. I took Bama the other day with Kentucky after I said they were in a spot where you can't really bet them ever just because of the roller coasters. I'm back off of Bama right now. The line seems to think it's South Carolina with those turnovers, especially late. Maybe like it's 11, it's 12. You're fighting for it, and South Carolina gives a little last ditch. Bama won by 2 to Vanderbilt the other night. Probably that ball goes in.
I was on Vandy, and I was sweating that one.
It's just a wild scene with Bama. Can win the title, can go out in the first round. It really is crazy. I think you got to go South Carolina here.
I'm staying away. I can totally see Alabama doing either one of those things. I could see them losing to some team that I had to Google because I forgot they even existed. I mean, that's the type. They remind me of an old school KU team, like a mid 2000s KU team that loses to a Davidson or a Bucknell or something ridiculous out of nowhere, especially as like they'll be a double-digit favorite. All right, last but not least, we're going to talk about your contribution to the Money Shots parlay. And we're not head-to-head here because you are going to use North Carolina money line, minus 182 right now at the Barstool Sportsbook. North Carolina, a 4-point favorite over NC State. This is totally like a KIV type play, right? NC State just sucks, right? What they've won, 5 games since December 1st? They are not a good team. But I do think that they will get up against their in-state rival, North Carolina, because that's what you're going to get from these in-state rival teams. Like they don't have much left to play for, right? This line looks so trappy, but I'm with you. I do think that North Carolina will squeeze out the win. No real sandwich spot here. They had a nice win over Louisville on Monday, play Syracuse this following Monday. I don't think this is a team that they're going to overlook. No. But can you really take this team seriously? They're not any good. They're 11-17 on the season. They're not going to play for anything in the postseason, maybe a little bit in the ACC tournament. Their defense is absolutely atrocious. I hate myself for wanting to take North Carolina State here in that 4 just looks like you just want to lay it all day with North Carolina. And I've made jokes with Megan that this has been the year. Just lay it with the better team. You're going to win. And not on the road, though. That's my one concern here. Why do you like North Carolina money line? Why do you think that they can definitely squeak out this win?
It's not me even laying the better team. It's me laying the desperate team. So you saw it the other night with Indiana going to get a road win, but big win. I'm pretty sure it was on the road. Either way, they needed a win against Maryland. They needed that win.
And I was on Maryland.
Right. Where was that game? Now that we're going to clarify.
That game was in Indiana. It was in
okay, all right. So it goes a little bit against it with the road, obviously, but the desperate team. Carolina, they keep talking about Carolina not quad 1 wins. They're 3rd in the ACC in a shitty ACC. Like, it's not a prototypical type year. Like, Carolina's kind of fighting for bids here, weirdly. They're probably safe, but they're still kind of fighting around, which is weird in late February for a Carolina team. Carolina shoots 37.6% from 3. NC State allows 36.5, 310th in the country. The trick is NC State does not allow a lot of 3-point attempts. I think if Carolina comes out and can get and work the line and start firing away, I like Carolina here. Also, NC State allows a ton of offensive rebounds. So if we're taking a lot of threes, we're getting a lot of offensive rebounds, extra possessions. I think Carolina's just in a desperate spot. The better team, as trappy as it is, the better team finds a way to win. I'm giving out Carolina -4, but in the parlay, I think you eliminate the risks. Give me Carolina to win.
All right, so we got Carolina money line from Rico, Arkansas money line from Megan, and I wanted 11.5, but Jack is a jerk, so I'm getting 10.5 with the Gamecocks. Thank you guys to Rico. If you are not following him on Twitter, make sure you do so. Check out their show, the Bench Mob guys. They're headed to Rutgers today. I want to hear you guys get so loud because I'm going to lay the 2.5 with the Scarlet Knights. Have so much fun. Drink all the drinks for me. And I'm going to go to the beach in my balls. Beachwear.
You should, Kelly. We got to.
No, go ahead.
We got to get you on that. We got to get you on the invite list because today we're all, little spoiler, we're all wearing sweatsuits except Jake. Jake doesn't root for anybody. But me and Marty are wearing full-blown sweatsuits. You obviously way younger, but, with a poof, some earring, you make a nice Carmella. So maybe we get you courtside next time Rutgers starts making this run, and we get you on there.
I'm here for it. That is great.
Just start, practice your thing. Charmaine, start going like this. We'll get you on there.
Love you guys. Have a great time. Thank you guys for watching Money Shots. Let's make some money today.